I'm going to get a lot of hate for this video, but you know what? Someone needed to point these things out. Pro Tools has been the industry standard for a long time, so people ask me why I use Reaper when I'm proficient with Pro Tools. It comes down to a few key reasons. It makes up for all the things that Pro Tools lacks, and in this video, I'll be talking about the most notable as well as some not as notable features. Make sure to hit that subscribe button as I'm trying to reach the goal of 50,000 of you wonderful people by the end of the year. And make sure you leave a like if you're a fan of Reaper. So what's happening, fam? I'm Miami here with JST, and I remember the first time I had to open Pro Tools. I had gotten the opportunity to go intern for Kyle Black, who's most noted for working with bands like State Champs, Newfound Glory, and Paramore. I sit down and he opens up a session from Strung Out, one of my favorite bands growing up, and says, all right, start editing. I'd only been using Pro Tools for 48 hours prior to this, as I was originally a Reaper and Cubase user. And my first thought was how it wasn't very intuitive and had a pretty steep learning curve, as well as a lot of drawbacks. Years later, I'm still using both and my feelings haven't changed in the slightest. So let's get into it. One of the biggest reasons I prefer Reaper is being able to open multiple sessions at once. Reaper gives you not one, but two ways to achieve this. You can either open another session by going to File, Project tab, and opening another project, or you can actually run multiple instances of Reaper by going to Options, Preferences, General, and unchecking check for multiple instances when launching. Pro Tools has failed at delivering this feature, although it's been requested for over a decade. This is likely due to the fact that Pro Tools and Pro Tools HD are all the same code, and there's no way to have DSP and I/O work simultaneously on two sessions. This should be a no-brainer, but by now we would hope that every DAW has the ability to open multiple sessions at once. Put yourself in this scenario. You're mixing a 12-song album and are using the first mix as the template for the rest of them. Makes sense, right? You realize that the kick needs to be raised 1 dB across the board, but since you can't open multiple sessions at once, you have to close and open each song one by one while waiting for all of your plugins to load. If you're doing this for a whole album, this can take up to half an hour to change a single element in your 100-track mix. That feature can be useful for referencing your own mixes, switching effects chains from project to project, or just bouncing back and forth between recording songs. Pro Tools users love to talk about how serious engineers have to use their DAW because of job opportunities. Well, time is money, and that brings us to our next point. Reason 2, price. Let's talk about the pricing options for both, as there are different tiers depending on your needs. The educational pricing is as follows. Reaper is a one-time fee of $60 for educational and personal use. This license works on the current version as well as the one that follows without a need to upgrade. To give you some perspective, Reaper stayed on version 5 and added updates for free for over 5 years. This applies to educators, students, bedroom producers, and studio owners that are under the $20,000 a year mark. Pro Tools education pricing has two tiers. Subscription is $99 per year or $10 per month. And if you would like to own it forever, it's $299. That comes with 1 year of updates and a support plan. The reason I air quoted forever is because I once owned a perpetual version of Pro Tools that was no longer supported with my updated operating system, so I guess I had a misunderstanding of the word perpetual. There is also Pro Tools Unlimited, which is $79 a month and $400 a year. If you would like to own it forever, it is $2,600. Yeah, you heard me right. Commercial pricing for Reaper is $250, while Pro Tools is $600. You can also do a yearly subscription for $299 or $29 a month. So in summary, for those starting out or in the intermediate phase of engineering, Reaper will cost you $60 versus $299 a year for Pro Tools. If you aren't making enough from audio to justify $300 a year, it might be time to give Pro Tools the slip, which brings us to our next point, slip editing. Did you guys see what I did there with the whole give Pro Tools the slip? Okay, whatever. But this is a huge one for all you editors. Reaper offers the option to slip edits within a region. What that means is you can split a track at 2 points and move the audio around in that track without affecting the regions before or after. This is a huge time saver when you're editing guitar DIs to the grid and don't want to stretch or warp the source. It leaves the audio completely intact and unaffected, while giving you the freedom to place it as you please. Pro Tools has yet to add this option. version. The closest thing it has to this is a feature called Nudge, which allows you to move the clip by a predetermined value of your choosing. It feels rather clunky in comparison to Reaper's freeform slip style. In Reaper, I found it most useful when drum editing when trying to make sure the crashes feel on time, which brings us to reason 4. Crashing instability. Out of all the time I have used Reaper, it has only ever crashed on me one time. It doesn't matter how many instances of bus glue or Howard Benson vocals I had open, it was always able to recover. Pro Tools is so famous for crashing that one of the first things you're taught when you install it is to change how often it autosaves to 1-minute intervals. There have been countless times I've had a session crash on me in Pro Tools with a client sitting right there while we wait for the session to reload, and when clients are paying by the hour, they aren't a big fan of that. I will admit that Pro Tools has gotten better about this over the years, but it still happens. I don't know what those Reaper programmers were doing when they came up with this DAW, but it works flawlessly even when pushed to its limits. Speaking of limits, let's get into number 5, limitations. Reaper has an unlimited amount of effects that you can add to a track. Pro Tools maxes out at 10. Now, I'm not saying you should need more than 10 effects on a single track to get it sounding right, but why should you be forced to limit your creativity? Reaper has an unlimited track count for each session, while Pro Tools Standard offers you 128. If you've ever worked on extremely large and dense sessions, you know how quickly the track count can add up. But don't worry, because if you upgrade to Pro Tools Ultimate for an extra $100 a year or $2,000 extra up front, they will graciously allow you to use up to 256 tracks. I always found this really interesting considering they don't really have to put in any extra effort to give you the extra track count. So let's go through these once again. 1. Multiple instances and/or multiple sessions at once. 2. Pricing. 3. Slip editing. 4. Stability. 5. Limitations. And if that wasn't enough, here are a few more things to give Reaper the edge over Pro Tools. Installer size. Reaper is 12 megabytes while Pro Tools is 15 gigs. How? How in the world did they make a DAW installer less data than the song that actually goes inside of it? Reaper uses less computer resources to function. Reaper loads and opens in seconds. And you can customize the way that Reaper looks any way you want by the use of skins. You can even make it look and function like Pro Tools, minus Pro Tools Beat Detective function. What are your favorite features of Reaper? Did I miss any big ones? Make sure to let me know in the comments below. If I inspired you to write something, hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe. You only have to do it one time. And tap that bell for notification so when a video drops, you know the location. Until next time, I'm out of here. Mic drop! Except as engineers, we know I wouldn't do that because it'd get really expensive, even if it is a piece of shirt. Later.